Oh, shit. We got my friend Raleigh is the intro music. Shout out to Rawls. First episode of Zealous Soul podcast. What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Ohm. This is our new podcast called The Zealous Soul. If you don't know what zealous means, it means like you are doing something that you're so passionate about and you just have tunnel vision on your passion. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about interviewing people who carve their way through life doing something different. You know, we all know people that do 9-to-5s. We all do what we can to get through life, right? And this is those people that decided, I'm not fucking with that anymore. I'm gonna go do fire performance. I'm gonna go do circus arts, and it might be a struggle, but you know, whatever. It is what it is, because one day we're gonna die, and we might as well enjoy our time, right? So, without any further ado, we're gonna introduce our very first guest. One of my really good friends, AnTree. He's probably one of the greatest human beings that I've met in my life. He's such a bright soul in this life. He does so much for the community. He's a man of his word. He's got integrity. He's just an amazing human being. And give it up for AnTree.
Thank you, my brother. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Great words of reflection. And you know, it's something that is really beautiful when you find people that are in alignment like that. You know, people that do what they say they're gonna do, even when it's hard.
Oh yeah.
Even when it's even daunting and discouraging. That dedication and that discipline will help us shift from a career mindset into a calling mindset.
Yeah.
And all those parts of life that we yearned when we were in a career will slowly start just coming to us just so abundantly and fluently as we put time into those areas of our life. And so I feel honored to be here. Thank you first and foremost.
Yeah. Oh, you got so much wisdom in you. I love it. And just for, how old are you now?
I'm officially 31.
31, man. If I had the knowledge that you had at 31 and actually like put it to use, I would have been a lot different today. But you know, we all go through our trials and tribulations, right?
And that's why I love these moments, especially is we're able to still learn those attributes and gain those attributes within each other. And so I love being able to sit with people that have lived the ages that I am or that I'll be sometime soon, someday, and it's a real honor to be able to just witness the wisdoms that people have learned through their hardships and their trials and tribulations. A lot of the people don't necessarily see those parts of people's lives in their kind of later years. All they see is their triumphs, and it's easy to make assumptions without sitting down with each person and just asking them, like, what did you overcome to be where you're at today?
Right. You never hear those stories unless you ask.
And
then you got a whole fucking thing going on, you know. They're like, oh, how much time you got? They say the hard times make us, right? Either they make us or they break us. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We've in the short time that we've known each other, I think we're 3 years, going for 4 years now. I think this might be going on 5 now. But we've traveled some miles together.
Fuck.
And we've been through, you know, all the elements that life has to offer. We've worked through them, in them, and with moments where it's been hard, but the morale that we've had within our crew and within our own individual lives has been really beneficial, especially on the road when you don't have those luxuries of your comforts and those day-to-day comfort items that kind of help ground you in. When you don't have those, it's often the people around you that kind of help ground you in.
Right.
And so
when you said hard times, the first thing that came to my mind was us on top of that mountain in Colorado. And the wind was going so hard, and we're like trying to get everybody awake, and we're like holding the tents from flying away. The pop-up's about to fly, land on top of your camp and Zipporah's camp.
Yes, complete disaster. And every time I still look back, and I just never forget. You just like, woo, just like screaming and howling, and and still smiling and trying to get everybody to wake up and comprehend the severity of it while also realizing that we're a whole circus about to blow into the wind. Like if you were able to witness that from a distance.
Like, boy, this fucking scenery is so nice. It'd be a shame if our tents just flew off into the mountains.
It wouldn't become part of the Great Divide. We're on top of a mountain, and if you were to see it just float away into the Great Divide. So wild. But we did it. We held on.
We did.
We did.
And that's just one of the many stories that we've got. Oh my God, there's so many. But well, let's start from like where you're from. Where did you come from?
Where did I come from? Where did I go?
Where did you come from? Yeah.
So I was born in Nebraska.
Nebraska.
A small town. Really was probably only made because it was where the Civil War individuals had come to commune, because it was relatively in the middle region of the major regions, and so it was basically a big campground for Civil War fighters, and so they created a nice village and started getting bigger and bigger, and then 200 years later, I was born in it.
I always think about the people who settled in the Midwest, and like when they were traveling across the Oregon Trail, they're like, I'm gonna go make riches, and then they get to like the flat fields in Nebraska, and they're just like, man, this fucking sucks, dude. I'm tired. And they're just like, I want to build a town right here. Yep. I'm over it.
I thought the same exact thing. And but it's that pioneering mindset that has kind of helped me keep trudging on.
Yeah.
And seeing people overcome so many hardships from living in the country and learning how to survive, cutting wood and farming and gardening. It had really put me in touch with my roots, with where I've come from, with wisdoms that my elders had known that are kind of starting to die off.
Right.
And so one of my biggest things as a kid growing up is I wanted to learn everything that was the hardest, that nobody else wanted to learn. And no matter how much time it took, there was a wisdom that I knew was missing.
Right.
And so I grew up in Nebraska, and really, really, really farm life, I guess you could say. Even in foster care, I traveled around to some different farms and broke horses, and and they broke me.
As they do. I'm not a fan of horses.
No, it was pretty
They're
wild.
Terrifying. And I'm a tall guy.
You're a big guy.
Yeah, but they're way taller. And I can imagine, like, you're for those that don't know AnTree, he's a lot shorter than me.
You're right.
His mom is a small person, and he's pretty small, but he's the mightiest person I've ever met. So he probably played a lot into it, right? You're like being smaller than everyone.
My foster mom was like, hey, look, all right, son, since you're the smallest on property, they think of you as a kid, okay? No matter how old you're ever gonna get, just be honest with you. Right. They're gonna identify you as one of these kids, okay? So they're gonna trust you quite a bit.
Right.
And so they had me just bareback on all the horses that we were breaking, and I'd be getting bucked around and kicked, and it really had made something out of me, wrestling something so big. No. And she always told me, she said, you control the head, you control the horse. And so it was like, don't give up. It'll get more tired before you do.
Yeah.
And so
that translates to just being a human. If you can control your head, you can control your horse, right?
Yes.
Your life.
Yeah,
that's a great thing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Huh.
So many. Those are the wisdoms that I'm talking about. Those little wisdoms that when you relate to other species and ways of life, it's that husbandry we were talking about.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. So, like, growing up, you were just doing the farm life stuff, right? Like, when you got to the point of being, like, 18, did you start working for regular jobs, or did you just be like, fuck this, I'm out, and got out of Nebraska? Like, I don't think I've ever asked you this. Like, how did you go from Nebraska to, whenever I met you, you were living in Florida,
I was. Yeah. You're right about that.
Like, there's a gap.
Yep. And so I went into foster care when I was like 8 or 9, and then I really hit the farm life, rural, back and forth. And something that I had always strived for was to see the ocean. And being landlocked my whole life, I kept just saving up, kept working. And so by the time I was 12 years old, I was dishassling, and I was just putting my own shoes on my feet. If I wanted to play sports, I had to pay for the gas to get to and from. Anything that I wanted to do in my life as a child was up to me.
You said detasseling. What?
Yeah,
I didn't know what detasseling was until last year, because I'm not from a farm. What the fuck is detasseling?
And so all the kids that are going from 6th to 7th grade in Nebraska, they are given an opportunity to start working at 4 a.m. in cornfields until like 2, 3 p.m.
6th or 7th grade? What is that,
Yep.
like 10, 11?
I was technically
12?
11 years old
Yeah.
when I first started getting taxes taken out of my paycheck.
Sheesh.
And so it was quite the experience.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I wanted to eat, have shoes on my feet, and when school started again, if I wanted to have new clothes, even though the state was paying for me to live places, it was still up to me.
Right.
And so I had gained this really good work ethic really young. And so I learned how to pretty much accomplish everything that I wanted to at a very young age by just breaking down the steps that it would take.
Right.
And so by the time I was 16, I had ventured out to California, and it had really helped me. Yeah, it had really helped me. Like, just be more open-minded to other people's ways of life.
Yeah.
And growing up, it was very closed-minded in Nebraska.
Right.
Our family, we were always judged, and anybody that was kind of a nonconformist to traditional values, they were really judged. And so I had this really big yearning to just go somewhere where I felt accepted, free, somewhere where people weren't scrutinized for living with the land, and not really kind of buying into capitalism.
Yeah.
And so by the time I was 16, I went out to California for a little bit, came back, and then when I was 15, I started helping a woman take care of her child. And she had a 6-month-old, and I became a father at like 15 when I got out of foster care.
Wow.
I had seen that she was in a situation, and this child needed somebody to be there for her. And so I was already working a couple jobs at the time. I was in sports. I ended up helping her take care of the child for a good 5 years until I was like 20 years old. And then when she cheated on me, I actually went out to Colorado. Completely started my life over, and it was one of the most liberating experiences. Continued to support them for quite some time until she found a new partner, and just kind of tried to just keep doing the best that I can do for people that I believe need support no matter what, and don't have a lot of support. And unconditional love is rare.
Dude, yeah. I went to therapy when I was in my mid-30s because I always had issues that I couldn't quite pinpoint. And my therapist finally, after many sessions, is like, I figured out why you are the way you are is because you've never experienced unconditional love. Because I was adopted as well, and like I was a crazy kid. I was just like, my mom couldn't figure out what was wrong with me because I'm not normal. So once I made that revelation, that unconditional love revelation, it's a very powerful thing. And even now, like, I think the only people that really unconditionally love me are my children. 'Cause if I do wrong in any situation or any place, I'm canceled. That's just the way it goes,
Thanks.
But my kids, they're, but I also don't do stupid shit. So
Right.
I mean, a little bit. Not that bad. Right on. So you went to Colorado after 5 years of supporting somebody from 15. Good Lord, that's young. Yeah.
It was cool. It was actually a great experience. I was on the parent-teacher council for the students that were in Aurora. So it was really beautiful to be as young as I was, being proactive in the community. And it was really cool to be an example of what it looks like to just do what you know is right, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it kind of created an accountability system for the town that I was living in, for other people, other fathers, other families, to kind of just do it, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And so I would kind of sit with other families up at this school and talk to them about my experience and what it's like to remember what it's like being a child.
Right.
And kind of, there's a lot of parents that are very abusive with their words, very neglectful with
Mm-hmm.
their ways that they connect with children.
Yeah.
It's very conditional, and I had grown up with that not from my mother, but from the foster homes that I was in.
Right. Right.
It was very transactional,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just wanted to experience a community somewhere at least
Yeah.
that wasn't so transactional,
Yeah.
where it was an unconditional love, but with the respect of common morality.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily even have to be faith, non-faith. It doesn't have to be like that. Just humanitarianism in the fullest degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to experience other cultures and people that were just accepting. And now that I've gone to other countries, I've been, I don't know, more accepted without being able to speak the same language,
Right.
even than in places in the United States.
Oh yeah, I've seen it when we were in Costa Rica. You know, you became friends with the Ticos there, and yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that was quite the experience. They were inviting me to come live with them and stay, and offered me work trade, and it was really beautiful
Yeah.
to just grow food and surf and
Right.
hang out and live a life that I've always dreamt of. And one thing that I've kind of had to stand in is, although I would love that, there's a lot of need for my presence here in the States.
Yeah.
And so a lot of nieces, nephews, and that's kind of what's kept me always, coming home.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure one day you'll end up down there somewhere. Who knows where the fuck we're gonna be going?
I've actually been still kind of talking to my friends that have the work trade housing down there and seeing what's up with surfing. Right now, as you know, I'm still in recovery from breaking my femur, but I'll be getting back on the board.
Yeah.
Zero doubt.
We're gonna get to that part too, because that's a huge pivotal moment in your life. I feel like, because like you talk about it a lot, and it is. I feel like that's where it all changed for you. And that was gonna be my next thing. So, your name AnTree is not your birth name, obviously.
Correct.
And kind of wanted to. Is there a story behind that? Is there a story behind when you changed from your birth name to AnTree?
Yeah, actually, yes, it is. And so, let's see. I ended up going into a second relationship with a partner that had 2 children instead of 1, and I hadn't known that she had children at the time. And so I moved out to Missouri with her, and then we ended up separating after I broke my femur. I was roofing with a brethren who owned a roofing company, and I told him that I didn't want him drinking so early on the job with my life in his hands.
Right.
And so the next day he made me get a ride to work because he would drink on the way. And so I kind of put 2 and 2 together. But growing up, I suffered a lot of trauma with my family, with society, with the system. And so I was breaking free from the attachment of some of the victimhood in my life at the time, not being associated with being like a former foster kid or being associated with a father who was a pedophile or going through these systems of oppression and not being reminded of them on a day-to-day from people of my past, from my name, from where people in my family have wronged me to the degree where I haven't wanted to wear their name and hear their name. Yeah. And so it kind of became like a dead name for me.
Yeah.
And
that's why I didn't say it.
Yeah.
I don't ever say it. You are AnTree.
I love you. And but then at the same time, it's been liberating to go back home and then see fellow police officers and my principal and them remind me of where I've come from. Yeah. And to them, Anthony is a very liberating name to them for seeing where I've come from and where I've gone, and it means a lot to know that it is the opposite for them of what I feel. Right. And so I've kind of, been able to respect that more so and kind of honor that in a way that I haven't necessarily in the past. Yeah. But when I broke my femur, I was pushed 2 stories off a roof, and I had slid down my chest, down my arms to my fingernails, and then I could like feel my fingernails peeling off from my fingers, and I knew in that moment that that was it.
Yeah.
That I might not make it after this fall. And when I had hit, I could see the break in my body, kind of like one of those old skateboarder shows when it shows the fracture. I could see it, and then when I hit the ground, I left my body, and I could see myself dying in front of me, and I could feel myself shaking from seizing, and I could feel myself suffocating from not being able to breathe. And I was just yelling at myself to breathe, and just to breathe, and then the louder I would yell to breathe, the more faint my voice became. Like I was like rising up in the distance as I was seeing this light just coming around me, but seeing my body still going through this, and just screaming and just screaming. And then finally, I surrendered.
Yeah.
And I had told myself, and it was, for me, it was like having a relationship and having a conversation with God. It was me talking to myself, and that in itself was talking to God, as I was saying that I've lived a life worth living and worth dying for.
Wow.
And I've been very sacrificial with my time. I've given and helped in a way that I feel comfortable dying for.
Right.
And I came to the ultimate peace that I've ever felt. No pain, pure bliss. And I allowed myself to just kind of float up and be okay with that. And then all of a sudden I had this spark. I was just thinking about my grandfather, my mother, my sister, people that don't have a support system, that I've been their support system. And my sister, she has some learning abilities and lives in a camp and with some other individuals like that. And so I go visit her pretty frequently, and I just have a lot of family that their direct support system.
Right.
And I could see how much they would kind of be lost without that.
Yeah.
And it had lit this fire inside of me. And I remember screaming, "No, fuck that. Breathe, motherfucker,
Right.
breathe." And then it was like I just shot back down into my body.
Damn.
And it was
That's
really
profound.
wild. It was really profound.
Yeah.
And within that moment, I was born again.
Yeah.
And it was the grounded, more assertive, less aggressive, more responsive, less reactive version of myself.
Right.
And so
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it was what had been given to me.
Right.
It wasn't like necessarily what I had chose. It was like sitting with God and hearing it be given.
Yeah. It's a huge perception shift. I mean, something that massive, coming out of your body and doing that. Like this.
Yes.
That definitely gives me a little bit more insight into the way you perceive life.
Yeah,
because you had that experience. I haven't had that experience. I've been close to death many times, but never like out of body. Like, holy shit, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So
I'm still in therapy from it. It's
right.
been 4 years.
Right.
So yeah.
It's not something you just drop all overnight. Like, that one time I left my body, bro. Oh, I forgot all about that. Nobody says that. Well, I am super glad that you didn't die, because then I would have never known you. And you've brought so much joy to my life, just mine alone. And I can see other people that count on you, lean on you, and that you just your presence alone helps them be a better version of themselves, and that's how I live my life. I try to be.
I witness that within you regularly.
Right. I try to be just somebody that other people can look at and be like, yeah, that dude's all right. I want to have that kind of ethic. I want to, but it's not like an ego way. At least I don't feel it that way. I just do what I do.
Absolutely. I don't feel like you're attached to neither the positive or the negative feedback, but you can utilize it to both improve and honor where you're at. And when you can provide a standard of, ethic, value, morals that people can kind of lean on, even without it necessarily being faith or non-faith or cultural, but just being a good stand-up person. And I've actually witnessed you leave your mark and kind of trail behind you in different industries throughout the city, and be able to witness people just talking about you, whether it's like you fix their vehicle or they're help them with some just some advice in their life or whatever it may be. It's really beautiful to be able to witness those crumbs throughout the city, like those cookie crumbs. It's nice.
Hell yeah.
And the whole industry now, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking different states.
Yeah.
I've seen you really help kind of create a lot of success in different festivals and industries and workplaces that had you not, people would have, lost a lot of money and might have been in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Sun Squabby should know my name by now, right? I saved their ass twice. We're going to try to see if I can save them one more time this year.
That's so great.
Oh, fuck. All right, so we have the break story is a huge thing in your life, right? And then it wasn't until you were pretty much fully healed when I met you, because you were living in Florida, and whenever we met, you said this just happened X amount of months ago, and I don't remember what that number is. Like, so you went from the break, and then obviously there's a huge process to like healing from that, right? You got to have surgery, you got to have steel in you, you got to like it's got to take a long time to.
In fact,
to
I was in the
recover.
hospital for only 24 hours because I didn't have insurance.
The
and
fuck?
so imagine like a NASCAR pit stop, but for somebody that, and at the time it was during COVID. Exactly.
You're good to go, bro.
Like they
Legs
wouldn't
all
give me a
jello-y.
meal. They wouldn't give me nothing.
What?
They're like, no, you don't have insurance. My nurse actually had to steal me crutches, and she was like, I'm so ashamed of what this medical system's become. She's like, I could lose my job for this, but I can't stand to see this happen. She steals me
fucking
some
shattered femur.
I know brace, no ice packs,
What?
nothing. And
I didn't think that was legal. I thought they had to fucking help you,
help
even if you
you,
didn't have
right?
money. What? It was and this was in Missouri, right? That
Yep.
this happened. All right.
Yep. And
fucking Missouri.
yeah, it was quite the ordeal. And I was living in an RV at the time with no running water.
Right.
Electricity was pretty poor.
Yeah.
And so they were going to help me with some transitional housing where I can get nice rehab.
Right.
But then they told me because I had a marijuana charge on my record.
Oh God, not the
that
devil's lettuce.
Exactly. And what was crazy is I had my med card at the time.
Right.
But my charge was in 2019 and the card wasn't until 2020 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up getting an apartment through a not-for-profit, Northeast Community Agency, something like that. I'm gonna quote them.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Thank God. Is all I gotta
Shout
say.
out to Northeast
Yes.
Community Agency, whatever the name
Yes,
was.
big love.
Yeah.
And so they ended up hooking me up with an apartment, and I was there for a good year, 3 months on bed rest, and then a wheelchair, 2 crutches, a crutch to a cane. And I told my partner at the time that I'd been wanting to leave the country for 10 years. I was about to be 30 here in a couple years, and I gave her the ultimatum of either we're going to be together and we're going to do this together, and you're going to leave the country with me,
Right.
or I'm going to leave the country and not come back. Or I'm out.
Right.
If it hurt to have to be like that, but I just had to stand in the life that I had always dreamt of, and either we were going to do this together, or we weren't.
Yeah.
And so I made a really big decision to do that, to declare that not only am I going to be able to stand on my own physically, but I no longer have the codependency to be in a toxic relationship that is only serving one individual.
Yeah.
And so it was a big declaration. I actually went celibate for a while just to make sure that I wouldn't be swayed or lose any of my goals, dreams, ambitions.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in that.
So easy. It's so easy. I wanted to be able to give myself the life that I would give to not just the children that I already have, but to my inner child that I hadn't fully taken the time to heal. Yeah. And so I could tell that it was like a pilgrimage in a sense. It was traveling to not prove to myself, but to gain a relationship with myself. Right. And so I had moved back to Nebraska, and then it was actually quite an ordeal. I didn't know if I'd be able to take the trip physically still.
Right.
And so I had signed up for as much as I could, and then I bought a ticket out of the country just to show the passport agency that I had one that was leaving in 2 weeks.
Where was that ticket to?
It was out of Fort Lauderdale to San Jose.
Oh, okay.
And it was really beautiful, but what I had to do was...
San Jose, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Not San Jose, California.
Yeah,
That's close to Mexico, but not that. Wait, that's San Diego. Never mind. I don't have a map in front of me.
That's so great.
Nice. So you got the ticket to San Jose, Costa Rica.
Yep.
Nice.
But I still didn't have a ticket to Fort Lauderdale and to all of the other places to get my passport.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to call the passport agency every day within 2 weeks of my flight. And then I was working 2 8-hour shifts,
right,
trying to like balance my injury as well as save up for this trip.
right.
And so I worked 2 8-hour shifts every day, 16 hours a day, and I did that for 2 months. Saved up some, quite a bit of some money.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, well, I could just kind of move down there.
Right.
I went for a little bit.
Fuck you, I'm out.
I'm
going to Costa Rica. I'm an expat.
But because I wasn't able to get all of the other flights,
right.
I hadn't had my passport yet. I had to get 2 flights to get to Fort Lauderdale, and then I still had a 4.5-hour drive when I got to Costa Rica to Envision. So I ended up spending most of what I had made just on my flights because they were so last minute.
Right.
And by the time I was done in Costa Rica, like we all had met, we went to Envision. I was technically living in Nebraska when we met.
Yeah.
But when I went to leave,
Costa that's
Rica,
right. You got stuck in.
Yeah, I kind of got a little stuck. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
I do remember that.
Well, they told me that there's no flights going back to the Midwest at all because of snow, and I believed it because when I left, I had my snow boots,
well, it's February.
my bibs. It was February.
Yeah.
It was literally a
It's
blizzard.
cold as fuck in the Midwest in February.
It was cold as fuck.
Yeah.
I had to borrow my sister's charger in the middle of the night, and I told my work that at any moment I could be going to Costa Rica, so just know that this is temporary.
Right.
And they were super cool with it. And when I told them, I was like, hey, I'm going, they're like, they let me print off my tickets in their office and sent me on my way. And so I took her charger and went to the train station and just left it there at the train station. Took a train all the way out to Denver, and it was still snowing really bad by the time I made it to Costa Rica. I had like a Carhartt, snow boots, and like I just had a whole winter's gear in my hiking pack. And
I saw that bag. It was taller than you.
It was
when
taller
you
than
showed
me.
up to fucking Envision.
It was taller than me.
And yeah, you were talking to Laura about, my partner Laura runs ReKinection. You were talking to her about doing the retreat that was after, and I remember her telling me like, this is dude named AnTree, and like the way you talk online, like I'm so grateful and all that stuff. I was just like, this guy's really interesting, man. I'm excited to meet this dude, and then I meet you, and you're completely different from what I expected, and I was like, this guy's a bad motherfucker. You went to Envision. You were holding down the fire circle longer than anybody. I was like, this guy, I've never seen anybody work this fucking hard in my life.
Thank you.
And then you're like, I broke my femur like 8 months ago. I'm like, what? I don't know if it was that long. Whatever.
Yeah, it was a big declaration, and it was pretty cool because Laura had offered me an Envision ticket, and then and to pay her back, and so I was like, hey, instead of needing to pay you back, I can volunteer for my ticket and use that ticket as a deposit, and they'll just pay you, right? It sounded like a whole circle,
right.
But she comprehended, and she was cool with it, and so I put on the volunteer application. They ask you what your skills and attributes are. No. So I explained the different festivals I spun fire for and the fire safety that I've experienced in different states throughout the country. And so they put me on as a fire crew, and then they gave me the fire safety lead position, and it was really transformational. And to be honest, I think something that really helped was there was quite a bit of people there that knew a lot about fire, but not a lot about using an impact or
Oh,
a
yeah.
circular saw.
Yeah.
And so when it came time to build the fire circle and to build the fire depot and to build things, I was the lead on it.
You're like, how do you use this drill?
I
I got you, fam.
got you. Yes.
I know how to go forward and backward with it. Got the skills to pay the bills, baby. Yeah.
So great.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so they ended up giving me the lead, which I did put some people out on stage. An individual, he was doing double bull whips, both on fire, and he goes out there just like ready to rip it. And I watch him. He gives it a couple, and then he gives it one hard one with his right and whips it out. And I see his arm extend full extension, and then extend like maybe like 4 or 5 inches more.
Oh.
And his arm dislocates.
Oh, God.
His shoulder dislocates.
Go gadget dislocate my arm.
Yes.
What?
It was so crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so he's doing everything he can just to not let it fly out of his hand into the crowd.
Right, that's not
And
good.
I can see him like give all the strength he has, and then the look on his face and everything, and then it comes back and goes down his whole body.
Oh my
lights
God.
his hat on fire, lights him
God.
on fire a bit on his shirt and stuff.
With a dislocated shoulder.
With the dislocated shoulder. Exactly.
Damn.
And so I kept clearing off all of the stage anyways. I wouldn't let people kind of step onto the platform.
No.
Especially there would be a lot of photographers that would kind of stand there, but I would let everybody know that this is my safety zone. And so
Fuck out of my zone.
Like, get the fuck out of my zone. Like,
Right.
for real.
Right.
It was great. And so I went out there and I grabbed the hat, I put him out, got him down, grabbed the whips, coiled them up into themselves, and then put them all out. And it was really beautiful. After that, the production crew rolled me up a blunt. They were like, "You deserve this."
Right.
And then they introduced me to the owner of Envision.
Nice.
And
That's awesome.
they talked. It was a big moment for somebody that just like came from Nebraska in the middle of a cornfield.
Right.
And was just kicking back behind Daily Bread on top of this bamboo platform in my own little sectional, and they're like, "Go smoke this blunt up there behind him right now. Kick back, you're good."
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just by doing what, anybody would do in that situation that had that knowledge, like I know I've been in a lot of situations where people that were less experienced or something happened where they could have really fucked themselves up. And if you don't know what you're doing in that moment and you don't put them out safely, get everything secured safely, shit can go horribly wrong.
Absolutely.
And you fucking stepped up and did it. And now you're smoking a blunt behind Daily Bread.
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty tight, man. I'd have been like, where's my bonus check, though? Like, I got to get back to fucking Nebraska. And this blunt it's not going to do it for me, bro. No, I'm just kidding.
That's so great. It's so great.
So, like, all right. So the point behind this podcast, right, is kind of leading up to this part. And we got to know who you are, where you came from, and I'm just pausing right in the middle of it because we're talking about fire performance. And you are one of my favorite fire performers that I love to watch. I love to perform with you. We riff really well together. We just know what's going on, and I just love your style. Where did you learn to spin fire? When did you start doing that?
That's a really great question. I was asked this by Laura the same question one time when we were on our way to Dance Fest, and I was driving the Wagoneer, and we had the trailer behind us, and I was telling her, I was like, I think it was like 2011, 2012, around there when I had first seen a fire performer. Yeah. And I told her it was Love Fest in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah?
Right? They don't have a lot of festivals in Nebraska, and they sure don't anymore, but they used to have one called Love Fest in the Midwest.
I remember Love Fest. I never went to it, but I heard about it.
Okay. See, it was a real thing then.
Was that
they can confirm
Dustin's festival?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I
did
believe
High
so.
Lucy Nation, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I haven't seen them do anything for a while,
No,
but yeah, I
neither.
remember that. I just always wanted to make it there. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Right.
And they had like sound healing. They had a bunch of Reiki practitioners. They had a fire circle, and then they brought out the aerial rig.
Yeah.
And so I was telling Laura about it too, about these fire performers, and I was just so amazed, and it had me, entranced, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the first one of the first moments that I stopped thinking about all of the unconsensual thoughts that I've experienced in my life, and was truly present.
Yeah.
And it became a state of meditation to even witness it.
Right.
And I told myself that someday I'm gonna do that. Right? Because of the centering that I had experienced just from watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I could only imagine what it's like to be in it.
Right.
And so I had some friends that had already been going, and they were kind of getting into poi and hadn't really gone into it too deep, but we'd all kind of just hang out in Aurora. We were the Hacky Sack kids, and
fuck yeah,
we
Hacky
just
Sack Nation.
Facts.
That's awesome.
And so it was like it was another tool to gather around and share. And we hadn't really had anybody that could like show us too many things. It was very, very much just we each had some sock poi, and we're just kind of playing around on our own and just trying to, not be embarrassed about movement in a place where your identity of how you look and what you're doing is judged the most. Expression in itself is very rigid.
Oh yeah.
In the Midwest, and especially in Nebraska.
Yeah.
So it was, it took a lot to break out of the ego and to not feel shame for the experience that we all go through when we're learning flow arts.
Right.
And there wasn't really a good group of people that I was with. Everybody was kind of like, oh, that's stupid, you suck. Really degrading, not encouraging, and pretty much at all. And so I knew that I just kind of needed to get away from that environment, and that although I had learned from them in different ways, it was time for me to kind of go out on my own, kind of just spend time with myself. And so I kind of didn't really go to any festivals or shows or connect with anybody in the flow community until I was in my later 20s. And so most of my 20s was an individual experience, where I didn't have safeties. I didn't really have a good group of people. I was taking care of children out in the country. Not really. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have like YouTube. I didn't have access to a lot of the material and resources. And I didn't have people to flow with. It was very much a journey that a lot of people that are going to be listening to are experiencing in their own lives. Right? They're becoming fathers, and their exposure rate is at a different space in their life. And so after that separation and going to Vision, and I had been kind of spinning fire at a couple different festivals in the local area and traveling to some reggae festivals, and I was one of the only ones that would normally be flowing in the reggae spaces. And so which was okay, but it made me really think about how I don't have a good a good flow community around me. And so I really then later, like around 2018, 19, and I'd gone to Sonic Bloom 2018 and 2015 and was exposed to it quite a bit.
There's a lot of fire performers out there.
There's so many. It's like an epicenter of flomies. And I used to live out in Colorado, like I was saying, so I would go just hang my hammock out at the Red Rocks during the shows. And then just hang out at the lot with all the different homies that would be just like flowing and like freestyling and just painting and expressing themselves in whatever ways they could.
What has flow taught you in life?
It has taught me to not necessarily like think. Right? It's taught me to get out of the way of myself. In a way that is really beautiful to see something that you're putting time into. That you can reflect back on the progress that you've made. Much like playing an instrument. And
playing an instrument is flow state too.
It's a flow state. It's a flow state.
Yeah,
And
you're just not thinking about it. You're just doing.
you're just doing it. You
Yeah.
just you learn some of the basics,
Yeah.
and then you just are in movement and
Mm-hmm.
and fluid. Like a very state of being fluid.
Yeah, and that transfers to your life, right? Like, 'cause
Yes.
from what I see in the outside looking in, you're not. You don't have a 9 to 5 job. You don't do the regular things, and a lot of flomies that I know, that's the same. Because they have that connection in their brain where they're like, I've learned to let go, and I've learned to go against what everybody else is saying that I should be doing. Now, obviously, it's not a blanket statement. I do know a lot of flomies that have 9 to 5 jobs,
Yeah.
And I did for a long, long, long time until relatively recently, But then I realized that you don't necessarily need to do that in order to live life, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, depends on how far you want to go with it. Just like learning poi, let's say, do you want to stop at the 3-beat weave and you're like, all right, this is all I want out of life. This is my flow, right? Or you can start doing behind the back stuff, or you can start doing, fucking 3D stuff if you want to, like the limit is whatever you put on yourself. And that directly translates to life, to making money, to making your way through life, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In every facet. When I had made the decision to start transitioning from my career into my calling, I was, I think, around 24. I was building bicycles, and I created my own company from building bicycles, but knew that it wasn't what I wanted to be spending my time doing.
Yeah.
And so I had written down a step-by-step, procedure to where I could start creating passive income, which I can talk about some other time.
Mm-hmm.
But passive income was my biggest thing, something that I can create one time, and then it will continually, make me money, right?
Yep.
Books, songs, novels, plays, these things like this. And so I've spent some time in the back scene of my life,
right,
working towards those goals.
Yeah.
And then I've got some active means that I put time into. I learned very young what it was like to be as a provider with the tools that I have.
Yeah.
And so out of $600 worth of bicycle tools, I made $50,000 in 6 months.
Fuck.
Right?
Right.
It took me a year to really learn the trade,
Right.
learn the craft, and then I used that money to be able to kind of go on tour to some different festivals, get some experience paying my way, and just learning the trade, gaining some relationships, letting people know my intentions, kind of just stepping into the space with getting my foot in the door. And then ultimately, I knew that I've always wanted to be able to flow for families.
Yeah.
And flow for intentions.
Right.
Bring communities together for intentionality. And fire's a beautiful catalyst for that because it invokes so many emotions. And it's something that people can reflect on. And when painting or music, when these aspects of life don't seem like they come very natural, but maybe these other avenues are something to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, fire, for me personally, it's like humans look at fire as the feared element, like fire can destroy your entire life. One of my favorite artists, Wookiefoot, Mark Murphy, he lost his entire house to a fire, but yet on the other side of that coin, he's on stage with 20 fire performers whenever he's doing his show, right? So like you have that weird duality of this thing danger, this thing awesome, so like whenever that's how I relate to it with fire dancing, is like you are harnessing this feared thing and you're basically saying you don't control me with fear,
Yes.
I'm going to control you. You always have to respect it though, because I've seen people get fucked up while spinning fire.
Facts.
Like,
Facts.
I saw it whenever I was running Pyro Tribe in St. Joe. There was this guy that he's like, I'm going to learn rope dart. So he made his own rope dart out of just a chain and some rope. And I was like, I kind of watched him before. I was like, and this is your first burn? He's like, yeah. And I was like, all right. So kind of went over it. Like, don't do anything too crazy. You just do small moves, whatever. And he decided to do a neck wrap. And he didn't unwind the neck wrap. and it wrapped around him twice and sat on his shoulder like a parrot. Giant burning ball of fire right next to his ear. And I was safety at that point, luckily, because my other friends they just didn't they don't know how to do that shit very well. They all freaked out, and I was like, oh, got my fire blanket, grabbed it off his shoulder, unwrapped him, checked him, made sure he was all right. He had some burns on his neck, his ear hair was singed, his side of his face was singed, but he didn't die. He didn't get third degree.
Did you
burns.
die?
But did you die? No. And after that, I said, "Do you want to try it again?" He's like, "Nope." And he never did rope dart again. That's how scary it is, And I've handcuffed myself doing butterflies on uneven surfaces, when I first started. And I'm so glad that I didn't stop, because I have friends that stopped doing poi, stopped doing flow. They went from that zealous state to like, I'm just going to do the 9 to 5 thing. And I'm on stage in Costa Rica in front of 15,000 people spinning fire,
Yes.
And it's like, I always think back to that. I'm like, man, if I would have just stopped,
I
would be some dude in a factory that fucking hated my life, that lived for the weekend so I can go to a bar and drink some light beer, like. It sucks, and I love
it's so true.
I love my friends, they're amazing. We started some amazing stuff together, but I think about it often, and I'm like, and maybe they enjoy it, maybe they like that security of having that 9 to 5 job. You got that check, you got to feed your family, all that stuff,
Yep.
But I could never quit flow.
Well, you know what I've learned is that, because I have a lot of friends that are very much the same, and they were just very evolved and are still very much more evolved as flow artists, but they have kind of had that life force kind of sucked from them from life in general.
It does that.
And so I've kind of tried to like nudge them with my poi, and then they like bust some stuff out, and I'm just like, yes. I'm like, and then I'm like, look, all right, I'm not doing nothing like that, right? You can do this, right? What people are most often scared of is even just the travel to and from, right?
No.
It's not necessarily even being at the place.
No.
It's getting to and from, and the setup and the tear down, and the roles and responsibilities that it takes to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Right? It oftentimes is something that is easier when you've experienced it younger.
Right.
And so when I go back, I even just had my nieces and nephews hold my levy wand. That's it's a fire levy wand, right? Yeah. And I explained to them after they seen me play with it for several times.
Right.
That think of it as like a big sparkler.
Yeah.
And I just lit one end, and then I let their parents come through and try it first so they could see how easy it was. And they're all like writing their names in the air and just having a blast.
Right.
And first, before we did that, I showed them the fire safety blanket, and we just went over what fuel transfers were just all of these things, right? Yeah. And some of them are old enough to really get it, and some of them, they'll learn along the way.
Oh yeah.
But it was really beautiful, and I've
awesome.
even taken some of the older ones that are in their late, late teens, 15, 16, 17s, 18s,
right,
up to this head shop where they have some of the best glass blown pendants and jewelry, and they have flow props and just really cool, I guess you could say festy items that they would love to experience, but they're so far from, they're 10 hours, 12 hours away from ReKinection and anything like that it's been, so hard to get them to be able to experience this life.
Right.
And so any way that I can kind of bring it back to them is my intention, and I promised that everyone I would when I left 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's why I go back so often as I can, and I sit with them in the different healing modalities and methodologies that I've learned in other countries, and kind of just update them as much as I can.
That's awesome.
Show them different cool props and
bring the world to them until they decide they want to take themselves to the world.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly that.
That's awesome.
Exactly that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, we're coming up on the end of this. It's an hour long. I could honestly talk to you. Just I could just keep going.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
just bullshit all day.
Right. What's next for AnTree? What do you got? What do you got coming? You gonna stay doing this? You got plans to do other things? What's going on in your life?
I do have some things cooking.
Yeah.
I do have some things cooking. In fact, when I went back to Nebraska this past weekend, or this past 2 weeks, I was the weekend. That's funny.
It was 12 days, AnTree.
12 days. No wonder when I say I'm gonna be gone the weekend, people are like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Right.
And it was really great. I got to connect with some of the local law enforcement that has known me and my family, both good and bad, throughout the years. But
Yeah.
I've helped them with the community and just, given some workshops and courses when I was younger, and went from kind of being a hoodlum to a nice gentleman raising children. And I was able to connect with the principal on some of the support systems that I've helped with in different high schools and some of the different organizations that have legitimate curriculum that teach social, emotional, soft skills.
Yeah.
Rather than, just kind of being a teammate, I guess you could say, it only does so much. Like being there without information to help, share, without actually providing wisdom, only gets them so far.
Right.
And so there's a couple different programs that I've worked with, a couple different community agencies that I've worked with, and I was able to go back and kind of refer the high school to them, and I might go back and, twice a month or so and volunteer some time there with my former elementary school, middle school, and high school, and sit with some of the students there and bring some fire there. And
hell yeah.
I've got a couple different venues there that I've been talking to about throwing some shows and some little events and bringing what I've learned out here back there. Truly, I'm talking tent sites, RV spots. I got a whole gymnasium access to, so we can bring a couple aerialists, like a couple rigs, vendors. We could have the full nine, but it being a way to bring it all to people that would never have experienced it.
Right.
And so that's been my goal for quite some time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of in my 30s starting to round back to those intentions that I had growing up as a child there.
Yeah.
Seeing that everybody just wanted to leave and never come back.
Right.
And that was the same for me. I don't want to move back.
Right.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah.
But I do want to spend more time, going back and, just giving the wisdom for free to the people that I know.
Right.
Would never have been exposed to it otherwise.
Right.
And kind of just shorten the distance of exposure that they would be experiencing otherwise.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's one of the things I'm working on most right now.
Hell yeah. And we'll be traveling again this year, I have no doubt. We'll be going to different events and doing all the things. We got Cosmic coming up. And
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited
too.
Yeah, I've even been looking at customizing this dolly to fit a couple of the different items that we have that we move in and out of the trailer. I've been going over some fabrication ideas that I think you could do to really make life easier.
Hell yeah.
And so I've been excited to come by.
I like making life easier.
You do? I noticed that, though. That's why I love working with you. We went from just sledgehammering all them stakes for that, that big top to a jack to
I
a
said,
hydraulic.
fuck this.
Yeah.
Jackhammer it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
And the older we get, I need more help doing that because, I'm never going to be 22 again. But hey, 43 is pretty good on me, so whatever. I'm still strong. I'll keep going.
Yeah. Facts. It's something that I always look forward to working with you, and it's beautiful to witness somebody be as prepared for the elements, so that no matter what, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, the show's happening and it's gonna get packed up and put away.
Oh, we're getting it
If
done.
we're striking, we're
Fucking doing
loading in, loading out, no matter what.
Yeah.
If we have to clear people out the booths, if we have to
Yeah.
clean up couches out our stuff, like whatever it is, like we've had to do it and we've done it.
Fucking couches.
And it's gotten like it's so many different roles and responsibilities in the titles of what we have.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty great. I love it.
It's a lot, but I absolutely love it too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't change it for the world.
No, not at all.
You know,
Not at all.
some of those times that we're moving couches and I'm like in a downpour and I think, man, this is rough. And then I'm like, oh no, you know what was really fucking rough? When I was working on train cars.
Yeah,
you
these
know?
are the same pockets
When I was-
that I have too.
When I was working in a foundry with a fucking giant grinder, giving myself fucking nerve damage, you know, to where I absolutely hated my life.
Exactly.
And I love my life. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's pretty intense. You know, this life is not for everybody, that's for sure. But that's basically what this podcast is about. You know, people who want to check out, you know, what circus performers are, where they come from, why they did that, you know. And it's fun,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
thank you, AnTree.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, being my first guest,
Yeah.
first of many.
Ooh,
I've got a whole
yeah.
list of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
My man.
My man. Yo, and then I can say that one of the greatest feelings that I've ever had is going back home and having an officer and a principal ask me what and where I'm doing now in life.
Yeah.
And I can tell them that I moved away and joined the circus, and I love
Yeah.
every fucking bit about it.
It's better than joining a street gang, I guess. It's a lot more fun, right?
A lot more fun.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I love you. I always appreciate you.
Yeah.
You've been godsend and so many levels of life for so many people.
Thank you. That means a lot from me, brother. Yeah, I look forward to working with you some more and seeing where this goes.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah, thank y'all for just, being there.
Hell yeah. Right on. Well, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next episode.
Sicker than your average.